Hello, NuPIC. Welcome to the NuPIC Development Progress Review, April 3rd, 2015. I am Matt Taylor, and in the Numenta offices, we have some NuPIC engineers, Scott Purdy and Austin Marshall and Subutai. We also have David Ray, the lead on HTML.java, coming to us from Chicago. So, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go review some tickets and stuff. Okay, so we had a little bit of GitHub instability over the past week or two because of the denial of service attacks. So that broke our pipelines up a little bit. That is the reason why our regression tests were failing for a while, but it looks like from the NuPIC side, things are working. So our CI stuff is green at the moment, and I do want to look over open PRs because there's a ton right now. 35 open PRs, 23 of them are over a month old, and I went through all these PRs yesterday or the day before, and I pinged on all of them. I tried to decide whose court the ball was in, and made comments on all those PRs to try and get them moving again. On pull requests that were either incomplete or there was a build failure or the PR had been reviewed but had not been circled back by the original author, I added a new tag called requires author action, and it's a way for me and other reviewers to note that that pull request is done from our perspective. There's nothing else we can do, but it's not mergeable. So these are all of them that currently require some action by the author of the pull request. So we'll see if that label is useful and continue using it as we go along. But I'm not going to go over all of these PRs because I have commented on them in the past couple of days, trying to get some more movement on them. There is a lot of ongoing work currently, especially on encoders for Captain Proto serialization config. So that's what all these bottom ones are. I've had a lot of those merge. So let's jump to the roadmap here. I brought up a conversation last week or the week before about changing the roadmap, changing the milestone specifically. We talked about this at our last review meeting, to be less topical and more chronological. So I've done that. I've updated all the labels on all of our repos and the milestones. So there's now only 3 milestones, and this is the proposal I put on the hackers mailing list and got some suggestions from Mark and Scott about it. So there's a bug fix milestone, which currently has 2 issues in it that are both assigned to me. One of them, I don't think it's our problem. I think it's a user problem, but I'm still waiting for a response. The other one, I am trying to get a decent installation of Fedora on my VM. It's not cooperating with me in VirtualBox, so I'm still working on that. And then we have the current development milestone, which is the next minor release. Just as a reminder, we are on 0.2.1. Once I clean up this Fedora bug, I'll release 0.2.2. And all current development is going on in 0.3.0. So you can see all of these Captain Proto serialization tickets that Austin and Scott have been working diligently on, so thanks guys for that. It's good. Some of them are tagged with help wanted, so you can see that a bunch of these have been cleared out already. If you want to see an example of how to do it, there they all are. So anyone remotely prolific in C++ hopefully should be able to pick up these, and it's kind of just grunt work. Oh, it is Python, sorry. So it's mainly just grunt work, so feel free to come in. These could be sort of newbie tasks. I still have this some removal of dead code from NuPIC tickets that David has been working on. So these still have PRs that are under review. Kind of still going back and forth with those. And then the Windows stuff. This is still my fault. I have not made any progress with the Windows stuff. It's just going to take me going heads down and turning things off for a day or two to get through these. The main thing I need to do is make sure that the NuPIC core build and app bayers creates binaries and pushes them somewhere, and then I can continue on with the NuPIC app bayer build, which hasn't even been created. But I can't really create it until I've got the NuPIC core binaries pushed somewhere. So it'll operate the same fashion as our other platform continuous integration pipelines. There's another ongoing ticket of code being removed from NuPIC core. These are just cleanup tasks that mostly David, Ragazi, and Mark have been working on. So those are in the current minor milestone, just because there's been a lot of ongoing work on that. And yeah, one remaining. I already talked about this, app bayer integration and NuPIC pipeline. And we still have a bunch of one-off issues that are currently either being worked or actually some of these I need to clean up. I don't think some of these really need to be in here. Yeah, but most of them are in here because someone is working on them, or I think it's important enough to work on, like these. Got a bunch of coverage reporting problems, a documentation problem. Those need to get fixed. So stuff like that. If anyone sees anything that they really don't think is important in here and nobody is actively working on it, feel free to clear the milestone. So I really just want to have stuff in here that we're planning on doing imminently, or that someone is currently working on. Yeah, and the last milestone that we have is 1.0, and this is capturing what we want to have done by 1.0. And I meant to have this open here, but I did send out a survey this morning, or no, it was yesterday. I'm going to find it. Here it is. And let's see where we got 13 people. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to see the live form. Oh shoot, there's one place I can look and see like a nice bar chart or a pie chart to see who voted for what. I guess I don't know how to do it here, but oh, I should have come more prepared. I had it open last time. So anyway, I'll tally those up and report them on the mailing list once I find the right link to it. But I was asking questions about what we think should be included in the 1.0 release. NumPy upgrade, the model serialization, which I think is pretty important. I think most of the other people did too. Windows compatibility and refactoring swarming into a standalone library. So once we give this a week or so for people to respond, I'll come back and publish those results on the mailing list, and that will inform us on deciding what other things are going to go into this 1.0 release. So this new roadmap scheme is basically just bug fix release, next minor release, next major release. So that's the thinking behind it at the moment. Let's see. So yeah, I said I wasn't going to go through all of the PRs because I've already pinged people on that. Let's so before we move to David Ray to talk about anything going on in HTML Java, maybe we should talk to the folks in the office and see if anybody wants to talk about anything specific or anything that I've missed. You guys seem happy? Any thumbs up or something? Yeah, okay. Okay, everybody's happy. This was a pretty short, NuPIC part of the meeting. David, I know you said you didn't have a whole lot to say, but any update about just what you've been working on in HTML Java would be fine.
Okay. Well, mostly I've been working on the network API. There's some work I've been doing for Cortical, for Cortical.io, to ease kind of some legacy frameworks and to try to transpose the network API work I've done into an older version of Java. And there's some lessons I've learned from that, so I'm going to port those back into JDK 8 to the HTML, to the numenta.org version. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I'm shooting for the end of April to have that done, at least by the end of April, so that there'll be a month between the time people get to review and work with the first version and the New York hackathon. So hopefully we might get some people using it during the hackathon. And there'll be cash rewards if you do. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, and we have a community member right now, Antidata, who is working on sprucing up the current code base with the SLF4J logging facility that we just put into HTML.java. So Antidata he's kind of the only community member right now who's working on it. People come in spurts, so he's like, sign me up. He wants all of the issues to be assigned to him. So I told him I would only give him one at a time. But anyway, so he's been working on that. He did his first submission last week, and things look pretty good with that. So that's about it right now. So just a little bit of community involvement and working on the network API, and which I want to get done probably definitely by end of April, but in the next couple of weeks. And I saw, Matt, that you responded to my email about how to kind of integrate the work back into the main trunk, because it's going to be a huge body. I think I can get it into the main trunk in little sections that you can test independently. So I'm going to try and do it like that.
That sounds great.
Okay, that's about it.
Thanks, David. I got a couple other things I thought about while you were talking. One is that we did hold a short sort of ad hoc meeting yesterday with Richard Crowder, who's working on porting temporal memory algorithms from Python into C++.
Okay, I saw that.
Yeah.
I watched
Oh, good. So I think it's a good reference for anybody else who might eventually come in and start working on C++ algorithms for the future. So we recorded it and posted it up, and I mean, some people might just find it interesting. It certainly helped, I think, Richard and Scott and Subutai come to the same point of understanding how that should all work, and Richard seemed to be very appreciative of that.
A good example of what not to do?
Well, I think it worked pretty well.
Oh, cool.
So also one other thing, I'm going to share a screen again.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
One quick thing. One of the things I think we wanted to do after that meeting is to create a super issue that, or something that lists all the sort of phases in the process of creating a fully blown C++ temporal memory implementation.
Right. So I watched the video and saw you guys talking about that. I'm going to take a note about it now.
And that way we can keep track of where we are in that process, and everyone's clear about the different steps. And then it might also be a really nice template for the next, a good starting point for the next such big algorithm effort.
Great.
Can I also offer a comment about the meeting? There was some mention of the random number generator work, and Subutai and I, like last October, went back and forth about this kind of because although Mersenne Twister is the common algorithm implemented in Python, C++, and now there's also a separate library in Java, there are some fundamental differences. Even minor things like the floating point floating point resolution can throw things off. What I'm saying is that it's not really dependable. Even though they're using the same algorithm, it's not really dependable to decide. Okay, we can use this RNG, give it the same seed, and hopefully come out with the same thing. Which is why I suggested a facade kind of treatment where we run it in Python, record the numbers that are generated, and then have a separate file that can be loaded from a RNG facade, and can just spit out those numbers, because they're all floating point numbers, and they're accessed in sequence. So when you run the tests, there's a list of numbers that are going to be generated, and those numbers can be loaded in. So I mean, that was my suggestion. I don't know how else really to come about doing it, because it is really important.
I think that's a good idea, particularly for comparing the Java stuff against the standard things. In the case of Richard and the Python and C++ versions, there's actually a very simple solution, which is that they both use the same underlying C++ class. So there's literally zero discrepancy, because it's the same code that's being called.
Oh, okay.
If we do across languages, where that is not the case, where we don't have those bindings, then I think your suggestion is a great way to test and make sure that, basically have a mock RNG that makes sure that the results are identical.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Matt, when I first came on board, Matt talked about implementing I can't remember the term for it right now, but a kind of a compatibility toolkit or something like that. They have an entity like this in Java, where implementers of the JVM can undergo this test suite, and it's the way they verify that the implementation of the JVM is sound and follows all the practices and adheres to all the standards, and produces the same binary code. So eventually, when we do get other ports, or you get clients which will hook into the C++ version or something like that, and you want to offer different platforms for that, we might want to look into having a compliance kind of kit. Matt, you're the one who came up with the idea. So
I think my idea was just a test suite that is based testing a black box scenario where there's inputs and there's outputs, and all it's really testing is the inputs it sends into some black box interface, results in the same outputs. Something we can test both HTML Java and NuPIC and any other HTML implementation that comes along. So something very standard and generic.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it keeps coming up, and I keep not working on it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do until we get to 1.0, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay, let me share my one last thing here. Going back to the milestone and label things that I was talking about, the labels specifically are all sort of different. I've got a standard here where there's word colon word, and the first word is kind of the type of label. So, for example, I've got priorities as priority colon and a number, status colon, blocked, help wanted, in progress, ready, or won't fix, and then type is a big one, and that's really sort of type of issue that we're creating. Is it represents, see, there's also a cleanup issue, a build problem, and an actual bug, administrative task, etc. So I'm hoping that when you're creating issues, instead of having this huge list to go through and just kind of point and peck, you can just type, okay, the subject of this is encoders, right? And this is type, this is an encoder bug, right?
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm hoping it should be easier to label things, and it'll also be easier for me for tooling to create filters this way if I decide to do that. So, and that, I think this sort of came out of Mark's comment on the mailing list. So thanks for that input, Mark. But I think this should work out pretty well. Hoping it does. I'm still totally open to comments and suggestions. None of this stuff is set in stone, of course. So yeah, that's that. That's all I got on my end. Anything else at all, even off topic, that anyone wants to bring up? Very good. I think we have 77 people signed up for the hackathon so far out of 100, which is pretty darn good. 2 months out. So
you only get one, wasn't it? Or
sorry.
It might break our records.
Yeah, it might. Okay, thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll chat with you guys on Gitter or on the mailing list. Have a wonderful weekend and take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.